From KVUE News in Austin, you're watching Texas This Week with Ashley Goodo.
Thank you for watching Texas This Week. We are 4 months away from the November election. Texas Democrats and Republicans have now both wrapped up their conventions, and the work for the parties is intensifying. This morning, we're talking with the chairs of both parties. But first, let's get to the 3 things you need to know in Texas politics. Changes are coming to the Texas Comptroller's office. On Wednesday, Acting Comptroller Kelly Hancock announced he's resigning at the end of the month. The very next day, Governor Greg Abbott announced Don Huffines will take over for Hancock. Huffines is the Republican nominee for the role. He defeated Hancock in the primary. The Democrat in the race, Austin State Senator Sarah Eckhart, says she welcomes the appointment, believing after Texans get a taste of Huffines, they will elect her in November. It's official. National Republicans will hold a rare midterm convention in Dallas this September. President Donald Trump shared the news in a post on social media this week. The convention is slated to happen September 9th and 10th at the American Airlines Center. Governor Greg Abbott appears to be switching his position on AI data centers. During a campaign stop in Bullard, Texas on Tuesday, he called the data center debate a fight for Texas values, saying he wants to ban centers from being built in rural neighborhoods and get rid of the tax breaks they get. A big change from last November when he said Texas will be, quote, the epicenter of AI development. During its convention last month, the Republican Party of Texas elected a new chair. Randall, the former vice chair, will now lead the party. We talked about her plan to keep Texas red and that controversial platform change by the GOP to oppose IVF. You know, coming out of the convention, one of the big things that the members of the party do are set the platform, right? Set those legislative priorities for moving forward. And one of the things that I think maybe caught a little people by surprise, raised a couple of eyebrows, was the stance on IVF. Can you tell us about the mindset, what went into this decision, and why is the party standing where it is when it comes to IVF?
So with IVF, I am somebody that has benefited from IVF, so I would be a hypocrite to be against it. I believe it's one of the best gifts that God gave us because he showed how people can be families. I've also adopted as well. So I know all pillars. I want to be inclusive for all families, and IVF is something that is a gift, and millions of people have been able to be a part of that process, and they have been able to benefit from it. Also, the advances, the technical advances on it is not what it used to be. And so I think that's where there's a disconnect, but 85% of Texans believe that it's something that they would like to see with their families. So there is a disconnect there, that it is something that we can get past, and it is the legislators that has got to take that up if they decide to do so. So that is something that the delegates voted for, but it's not something that a majority of Texans are for. But it is something that the delegates are for, which I am the chair, so I don't let my personal feelings get in the way. It is something that the delegates asked for in the platform, but I just don't think there's an appetite for IVF to go anywhere. And because we are a pro-family party.
Why do you think this was important for the delegates to include in the platform?
Well, there was a process with the IVF that, it used to be that there was a lot of discarding of embryos. And now with technology, that is not something so much that happens. And so I think that's what they were doing, because we are a pro-baby party. And because we are a pro-baby party, then having them discarded is also something equivalent to them to letting go of life. And so that's where their heart is for all life to matter. And so, but I know from 2 people that I love dearly, that are close to me, that they just did IVF, and they do not put the numbers in, and they do not fertilize the numbers anymore the way they used to. So the technology has gotten so much better and so much more advanced that more people can become families because of IVF, but also they don't do it in the procedures that they used to. They are very confident in the way that they go about it, and they are very conservative in the way that they go about it.
Tell us, especially as we march towards November, can you tell us just a little piece? I know you're not going to give us the whole thing, but give us a little taste of what you have planned in order to keep Republicans in power in Texas.
So my main thing is fundraising. That is something that I work on probably 25 hours a day. And so that is something that I am going to do with this midterm convention. It's also a way to get our party on solvency. So that's one of the main things that I'm going to be working on is our midterm convention. It's going to be huge. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. But anyway, the other thing is our training for our county chairs. If you don't have strong counties, you don't have a strong Texas. So that is something that I just met with my team on our training mechanisms that we have for our precinct chairs and our county chairs. The other thing that I have is the youth. We have the youth on our side when it comes to the Republican Party, and I'm very excited about that. They outnumber us in South Texas. And so, and not only is it that I'm excited about that they get excited when they see there's a lot of youth involved, but it also does a lot for us people that have been in politics for a very long time. We get energized when we see them. So we are working hand in hand with our youth to give them more access to the Republican Party and more leadership.
All right, we are 4 months out from the November midterm election. What is the message Democrats have to hammer in to voters?
It's pretty simple, in my opinion. If you elect a Texas Democrat, they will take on whatever billionaire, whatever banker, whatever bootlicker we have to make sure that the little guy gets their seat at the table. For too long, politics has been set up so that the rich folks run it while we're all stuck at the bottom groveling for crumbs. If you want a government that is run by and for working class people, we have to all come together across 254 counties and take this government back.
Obviously, when you look at the poll numbers that are coming in, the race between State Representative James Tallarico and Attorney General Ken Paxton is very tied in most polls, right? And we know that independents are going to play a large role in this election. What do you say to those folks who traditionally have leaned a little more Republican to try to get them to back not only Tallarico, but the Democrats down ballot?
Well, look, we are running against the most corrupt politician in America, and all the way down the Republican slate, it is just a clown car. Whether it's Ken Paxton, who's been indicted and impeached, who's a literal thief, or Greg Abbott, who sold out our community public schools to an East Coast sugar daddy for $13 million. You keep going all the way down our ballot, all the way to Beau French running for railroad commissioner. I mean, these people are not serious people. But the Democratic ticket this year are serious individuals that are coming to the table to provide solutions for people. If you're sick and tired of the government not solving your problems, but creating them, if you're sick and tired of a government that doesn't look out for you, but instead only looks out for the billionaire class and for their donors and their owners, and you want a government that is finally coming up with solutions for the problems you face in your lives, just trying to help you make sure you put soccer cleats on your kids, then the entire Democratic slate is the one you got to vote for this year.
When you look at the fact that the National Democratic Party has identified several Texas races, as races that they are going to be committed to, are you hopeful that the attention and, ideally the dollars that will bring with it will get some seats back in the State House?
The resources are always helpful, and that's been a big challenge for Democrats in this state. It's the most expensive state to operate in. But I'm a scrappy farm kid from East Texas. I'm not operating in this reality that we're going to have piles of cash. So we're working every day like we're 200 votes down, rolling up our sleeves, keeping our heads down, doing the work, knocking on the doors, making the phone calls, and doing the voter contact it's going to take to win. That, I think, old-fashioned way, showing up in communities, shaking people's hands, looking them in the eye, telling them what we stand for, asking for their votes. That to me is much more valuable than any pile of cash that we're going to have and any pile of cash that's going to come in to try to save Ken Paxton. We've been getting out organized in this state. And until we run a 254 county operation that leaves nobody behind, we're going to keep being in trouble. And so that's what we're trying to do. Flip the script, change the way we're operating, and work our tail ends off.
When you look at the convention that just wrapped up, you know, obviously you guys pass your platform. You talk about the things that Democrats are focused on. And, you know, it's a lot of kitchen table issues, but also a lot of, you know, the government is not doing what we need it to do. Talk to us about the platform for the party moving forward.
The truth is that the Democratic Party in recent history was known as the party that fought for working class people, was always on the side of the little guy. Senator Ralph Yarborough used to go around the state talking about putting the jam on the bottom shelf so the little people could reach it. But since Donald Trump came on the scene, we became a party trying to preserve institutions and lost sight of the fact that those institutions weren't serving working class people. So this, you know, we can either argue with people and tell them they're wrong, or we can look in the mirror, own up to mistakes, and try to make it right. This is our party setting its course back to what our roots are. We are a party that will take on whatever billionaire, whatever banker, whatever bootlicking we have to make sure the little guy gets their seat at the table. And that's what this platform represents. It represents a party that is refocused and recentering itself on who we are, not rebuilding a country back to the way that it was after Donald Trump tore it apart, but instead rebuilding it in a way that works for working class people. And that may mean rethinking it and reimagining what those institutions can do. But somebody has to be on the side of little guy. And that's what I believe the role of the Democratic Party is.
Recent polls show the race at the top of the ballot. Attorney General Ken Paxton and State Representative James Tallarico for U.S. Senate is tied. Down ballot, Republicans have the lead, but at a smaller margin than in years past. So both parties will have to work to win over voters. That's Texas This Week.